December 31st, 1815. December 31st, 1815. So you have George Meade. George Meade, who's going to be born in Cadiz, Spain. George Gordon Meade was born in Spain. So it just did 28. Now we're on December 31st. December 31st, 1815. George Gordon Meade, USA. USA was born in Cadiz, Spain. George Gordon Meade, born in Cadiz, Spain. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. Matthew 7:1. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Matthew 6:34. December 31st, 1815. George Gordon Meade is born in Cadiz, Spain, and that's a reason to celebrate. That's fantastic. This is an exciting day. Of course, you know who George Meade is. How can you not know who George Meade is? He was Spaniard, born in Spain. Let's start with that. So George Meade, born in Spain, right? Well, that's Cadiz, Spain. He's the 8th of 11 children of Richard Warsom Meade and Margaret Coates Butler. His family were the Pennsylvanians of Catholic, part Irish descent. His father of a Philadelphia merchant family became wealthy in the American-Spanish trade, was appointed U.S. naval agent. Then he became ruined financially because of his support of Spain in the Peninsular War. His family returned to the United States in 1817 in precarious financial straits, and he died in 1828 when Meade was not yet a teenager. He got up to America, though, didn't he? George Gordon Meade, he was born a Spaniard, but got to America, and then he's going to lead the Gettysburg. He's going to conquer Robert E. Lee at Gettysburg. So fucking smash that bitch-ass, racist, fucking authoritarian, fascist, oppressor, molester, fucking nozo, chomo, pile of shit in the dust. His elder brother, Richard Warsom Meade II, became a naval officer. Several sisters married military men. Likewise, young George Meade attended the American Classical and Military Lyceum in Philadelphia and the Mount Hope Institution in Baltimore. Entered the U.S. Military Academy at West Point in 1831. Graduated 19th in his class of 56. In 1835, Meade was commissioned a brevet second lieutenant in the 3rd U.S. Artillery. His first assignment being in Florida, fighting against the Seminole Indians. He became a full second lieutenant by year's end. In the fall of 1836, he resigned from the Army, a career he had not intended to pursue. Even while attending West Point, he worked as a civil engineer for the Alabama, Georgia, and Florida Railroad and for the War Department. On December 31st, 1840, his birthday, he married Margaretta Sargent, daughter of John Sargent, running mate of Henry Clay in the 1832 presidential election. They had seven children together: John Sargent Meade, George Meade, who became a colonel in the U.S. Army, Margaret Butler Meade, Spencer Meade, Sarah Wise Meade, Henrietta Meade, and William Meade. There's a Meade County, Kentucky. Has that got to do with anything? Meade County, Kentucky. And still no internet. Okay, so we'll just have to wonder if there's a connection there. Is there a connection? Probably not, but you never know. Probably so. Maybe it's in the middle. So, who is Meade? Meade is just this guy here. He's got a beard. He's got a bald head and hair and a mustache, and he's got that face, nice strong face, right? Doesn't seem ostentatious. It doesn't seem showy or pretentious. Seems like he's just kind of laid back, smart, intelligent. He's the one that's going to win Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg. So let's just get to his fucking highlight. This is his namesake, Pickett's charge, right? Stupid ass Pickett starts charging and then they all get killed. So what happened? What did Meade do in order to... So Hooker is going to resign from the Army of the Potomac while pursuing Lee in the Gettysburg campaign. In the early morning hours of June 28th, 1863, a messenger from President Abraham Lincoln arrived to inform George Meade of his appointment as Hooker's replacement. Oh, shit. Step up, George Meade. Here you go. This is your chance. One chance, one moment. You got your mom's spaghetti on your shirt already. Meade was taken by surprise and later wrote to his wife that when the officer entered his tent to wake him, he assumed that Army politics had caught up with him and he was being arrested. He had not actively sought command and was not the president's first choice. John F. Reynolds was, let's see here, the four General Reynolds, John Sedgwick, Henry Slocum, and Winfield Hancock had recommended him for command of the army and agreed to serve under him despite outranking him. One has to grow hard, but without ever losing tenderness. Never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. It's always the right time to do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. When it comes to noble havens, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. He'll always be fooled. Instead of him pursuing justice. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So Meade, George Meade, he assumed command at Prospect Hall in Frederick, Maryland. Lee's Army of the Northern Virginia was invading Pennsylvania, and as a former Corps commander, George Meade had little knowledge of the disposition of the rest of his new army. Having known George Meade during the Mexican War, Lee declared that Meade would make no blunders in his front and that if Lee did so, Meade would readily exploit them. Only 3 days later, Meade confronted Lee in the pivotal Battle of Gettysburg, July 1st to the 3rd, 1863. The battle began almost by accident as the result of a chance meeting engagement between Confederate infantry and Union cavalry in Gettysburg on July 1st. By the end of the first day, 2 Union infantry corps had been almost destroyed, but had taken up positions on favorable ground. George Meade rushed the remainder of his army to Gettysburg and skillfully deployed his forces for a defensive battle, reacting swiftly to fierce assaults on his lines left, right, and center, culminating in Robert E. Lee's disastrous assault on the center, known as Pickett's Charge. During the 3 days, George Meade made excellent use of capable subordinates, such as Major General John F. Reynolds and Winfield S. Hancock, to whom he delegated great responsibilities. Unfortunately for George Meade's reputation, he did not skillfully manage the political manipulators he inherited from Hooker. Major Generals Dan Sickles caused him difficulties later on. Okay, so I want to know how many people had died in Gettysburg. So, okay, he fucking conquered the motherfucker, and I still don't have internet. I think it was like 10,000 per day. And I can't go back to the George Meade article. Fucking awesome. That's, oh man, technology. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Can you imagine an SLV with a court system that actually functions? A court system that's rooted in truth and justice, love and peace. Imagine judges who care that there's not a presence of justice in the neighborhood. What? The Nazis are in control. Well, we don't want the Nazis. We don't want right-wing government Nazis, and we don't want these right-wing sovereign Nazis around here. They're a bunch of fucking perverts. They're a bunch of fucking criminals. They're racist, bigoted pieces of shit. What the fuck did you expect? You looked at a Nazi with fucking admiration and respect. You're going to emulate that fucking Nazi? And now look, you're all a bunch of fucking Nazis. Fucking Nazi land. Is that what... Imagine an SLV where you got cops and judges and a good DA. Don't try to be a great DA. Just try to be a good DA. And then later on, just let the SLV decide for itself whether you were great or not. A good cop is a good social worker, and a good social worker is a good lawyer, and a good lawyer is a good cop. A good cop is a good lawyer and a social worker. A good lawyer is a good cop and a social worker, and a good social worker is a good cop and a lawyer. Actually, that's a great cop. That's a great lawyer, and that's a great social worker. Einstein said that great spirits always encounter violence from mediocre minds. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. All for one, one for all. If you can't fly, then run. And if you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you got to keep moving forward. Woe to you Pharisees, because you give God 1/10 of your mint, rue, and all other kinds of garden herbs, but you neglect justice and the love of God, you should have practiced the latter without leaving the former undone. Luke 11:42. Luke 11:42.